Bonjour French ladies, it's Marianne, and today in this video we are going to talk French etiquette, and especially 10 things not to do in France. Many of you have asked me about various things not to do in France, how to act when you visit France, etc. So I thought I would do this general video, and then please let me know in the comments below what you think about this type of video on French etiquette. If there are specific topics you would like to know on French etiquette, please let me know in the comments below. Let's get straight to it, but don't forget to stay till the end for the main faux pas on French etiquette. Our first etiquette faux pas would be not to show basic manners. In France, our manners are top of the list. So if you're in France, don't forget to say bonjour, au revoir, merci, and s'il vous plaît. So, the basic greetings and thank you and please. This will be very much appreciated. A second faux pas would be to be very loud in voice, very loud in what you say, very brash, etc. If you have been to France already, you may have noticed that French people's voice is low in register. Our voice is not high-pitched, it is not nasal. We very much speak down here, not here, and this affects how low or how high our voice would be. This is why in France we speak quite low, and people say that we are quiet, and yes, it is correct. Our third faux pas is to be overly familiar with people, with French people, and especially so with people you don't know very well. As a matter of fact, even though you may know somebody, your neighbors, or people you meet every day at work, for instance, we are not being overly familiar. For instance, we don't invite people over to our home before a certain amount of time we have known them. So on the first meeting, especially so, do not invite people to your home for dinner or an aperitif. This is not the thing done. In France, we need time to know a person, and in order to invite person into our home, because let's not forget, we are private people, therefore we need to know who we invite in. And in the same way, if we are invited into French people's home, please know and appreciate the gesture that they are doing. Please let us know so far what you think of these faux pas and this French etiquette. Do you already practice this, or do you disagree? Please let us know in the comments below. Another big faux pas that I have mentioned often is talking about your wealth, especially so if you are wealthy. It is accepted that you will talk about not very rich you are and not earning enough, that kind of thing. But it is not really accepted for you to talk about your wealth if you have much wealth, because that will be seen as bragging and as being above people. So when you are in France, remember that a little humility goes a long way. And the same thing, trying to look expensive, because you see that a lot, social media, and especially that expression, to look expensive. And this is such a big normal. This goes against French culture, and trying to look expensive or trying to look wealthy by wearing lots of logos, and it is really a big faux pas in France. Next on our list of faux pas is when finally you have been accepted as a friend, you have been invited to somebody's home for a dinner or dinner party. What do you bring? But first of all, remember to not go empty-handed. And actually, that is probably the norm throughout the world. So what do you bring? What is acceptable to bring? So you could bring a good bottle of wine, and I mean a good bottle of wine. Also, you could bring a pâtisserie from a boulangerie. It is really a good gesture to bring, for instance, a large cake or a large tart from a local pâtisserie, more than actually making a cake yourself. Because in France, if you bring something that you have bought at a pâtisserie, it looks like you value the dinner, you value the host, so that you are willing to spend a lot of money on the cake to bring. Another option, of course, would be to bring a nice bouquet of flowers for the hostess. So when you are invited to a dinner party or any other occasions, what do you wear? What is the norm in France? How is an acceptable way to dress or not an acceptable way to dress? And I will tell you in just a couple of words is, do not go somewhere overly dressed, meaning you're trying to look expensive, that kind of thing, overly wealthy. But don't go the other extreme of looking scruffy. This will not be acceptable either. As I have mentioned many times on my style videos, the French chic style is between those two extremes. We're very much classic, well-dressed without overly well-dressed or, overly casual. So if you stay in that middle, you'll be sure to not make a faux pas. Have you ever been to France? Have you ever come across this faux pas? Or maybe you did them? Please let us know and share your stories. Right, so for our next faux pas, you have arrived at that dinner party. How do you greet your hosts? And here it is, many people may find this a little bit, what do I do, what don't I do? First of all, the big thing to remember is that in France we don't actually hug when we meet people. It is not the thing done in France, and probably not in the whole of Europe. It's not something we do. We're going to hug little children when they are our own children, grandchildren, nephews or something. But for adult hosts, we don't hug. So what do? You would think, oh, I've heard that in France. We give them la bise. Oh, attention. Because we do in France la bise, so many kisses, and in France, various parts of France, you will kiss, 2 kisses or 3 or 4, depending on where you are. Actually, around here where I live, it's 4 kisses. But only if you know them very well. If you don't know them that well, handshake. You will, give a handshake to the hostess and to the host. Whether you're a woman or whether you are a man, we do kiss people we do know, but we don't kiss people when you first know them or our neighbors, unless you're really quite friendly with them. So remember that we give a kiss to people we know well, our friends or our colleagues, for instance, because we see them every day. But, if you need to be close before giving them la bise. As a matter of fact, you could even wait for them to say, we're going to kiss each other. So if they ask first, okay, on se fait la bise, that's what people will say, oh, allez, on se fait la bise, then it's okay, but not before that. If you're unsure, always wait for your host. So you have arrived at the party, you have greeted your host without hugging them, you have given them the flowers or the pâtisserie, the wine, and you are sitting down and you're about to eat. The next thing, you need to wait, and you will see the other guests. We will wait until the host or hostess say bon appétit, you can start. So remember not to start eating before your host. If you like dinner parties, how would you like to eat like a French woman? Here is my Eat Like a French Woman program, and the link is below this video. So now your host, I've told you, okay, you can start your meal. How do we hold our cutlery in France? I am going to show you quickly how to use your cutlery and the proper way to use the cutlery so that you don't elbow your guest and your guest does not elbow you either, so that when you hold your fork and your knife and use your spoon, your elbows can be close to your body. You hold a spoon like this. Do not hold it like this, because you will do this, and again you have your elbows here for the fork, and it is bent in such a way so that you got the food here at the end of the fork and you put it in your mouth. And now with the knife, it's like this, and you put the pressure on your knife with your index finger so that you can cut. So when you use the fork and the knife, use the fork to hold your vegetable, the meat in one place, and you use your knife, you hold your knife like this, so that you control your knife like this. And you can put pressure on it to cut it, and then you put it onto the fork like this, so you can eat. Before I leave you with a final faux pas, I thank you for watching this video, and if you enjoyed it, please click like, share this video with your many friends, and please subscribe. At the end of this video, you will see a playlist of many videos on how to look chic and elegant. Our last faux pas in France. I did say France and not Paris. Please do not confuse Paris with the rest of France. Paris is not France, the same as, any capital city is not the whole country, and I'm sure you will understand what I mean here. And as a matter of fact, there is a kind of little frisson, if I can call it like this, between people outside of Paris and actual Parisians. People outside of Paris do not want to be called Parisians. They don't want to be confused with Parisians, and they are very proud of living in their region. Having said that, please enjoy yourself in your next trip to France, and if you could, try to speak a few words of French. We French people, we absolutely love you, and we will love your accent.